Hello and welcome to another Steps of Sussex live channel episode. And in today's video, by the way, let's just do a date check. I keep getting my dates mixed up. I don't know about you, but we're in our second lockdown here in the UK, and the days just seem to get completely lost and all kind of blurring into one. But it is November the 22nd, 2020. It is Sunday, and I just wanted to kind of, really just talk, I suppose, about anything that you wanted to talk about and you wanted to discuss that's been going on in the world of Harry and Meghan over the past couple of weeks. So it's your chance to ask me any questions or anything that you might want to discuss, talk about, and of course I will try to answer as best as I possibly can. So let's go. As always, this is a live chat, so I shall be trying to answer as many of your viewer comments and questions as possible. Right, I can see people dropping in already. We have Mary, Lauren, Christine, and Kizzy. So yes, let's talk about the latest things that are going on. So the biggest thing, and I did speak about this yesterday on my Royal Reviewer channel, was of course the big news that Harry and Meghan have agreed effectively to kind of house share Frogmore Cottage with Princess Eugenie and Jack. And I did wait over a day before I even broached this subject on Royal Reviewer, because I wanted the story to very much I felt like it was a story. I had a feeling that this story was going to develop slightly and that more details were going to come to the fore. Originally, this story was actually reported falsely, was reported wrongly. There was misinformation put out there by the press about this story, because originally the press had kind of led everyone to believe that Harry and Meghan had done a kind of midnight flit where they packed up all their stuff in the dead of night, and they'd had vans and all their stuff had been shipped out, and that they'd handed the keys over to Princess Eugenie and Jack. And of course, my inkling was correct, and that wasn't the case at all. It turns out that that Harry and Meghan had done a kind of private arrangement with Princess Eugenie and Jack so that they could basically move into Frogmore Cottage, use Harry and Meghan's furniture. The reports about Harry and Meghan having their furniture shipped out was actually incorrect. A Sussex spokesperson did come out and say that was actually incorrect. Harry and Meghan had still left all their things there. Harry and Meghan still intend for this to be, for Frogmore Cottage to be their UK home. They will still come back and they will still stay there with Eugenie and Jack. So they'll kind of all house share when Harry and Meghan do decide to eventually come back, for however long those periods might be, although people aren't expecting that will be very much. But yes, so Harry and Meghan, we know, paid back renovation costs of Frogmore Cottage. That was, of course, voluntary. They were not requested it officially to pay it back. They offered to pay that money back. And then they paid an upfront sum of rent. Now, this is the bit we don't know. We do not know for how long a period that rent covers. We also don't know how much that rent actually was. So let's just say, for example, let's explore the options. Let's just say they paid rent upfront for a year. Basically, it's believed that they came to an arrangement with Eugenie and Jack. We don't know if Eugenie and Jack are going to pay them any rent, although I would imagine they'd be paying bills, like utility bills and that kind of thing. But we don't know if they're paying rent. But it's come out since then that Harry and Meghan didn't necessarily inform the Queen or the Crown Estates of their arrangement before telling them. But they did actually tell them. It's just a case of they didn't discuss it first. But that kind of makes sense to me, because you wouldn't necessarily request of the Crown Estates or the Queen that Princess Eugenie and Jack could effectively sublet Frogmore Cottage if you didn't discuss it with Eugenie and Jack first to make sure that they actually wanted to do it. So it seems like to me Harry and Meghan did go about this in the right way. I think it was right to discuss it with Eugenie and Jack first to make sure that they wanted to do it, and then inform the Queen, then inform the Crown Estates. If if they were allowed to effectively sublet, because of course we don't know if any money is exchanging hands. So we have to kind of work in the parameters of we don't actually know all of the details. So yes, there was no midnight flit. Princess Eugenie and Jack are now staying there. They moved in about 2 weeks ago, and I think that it's really lovely. I actually think Harry and Meghan have done a really wonderful thing in basically allowing a young family, because of course Princess Eugenie is pregnant, so they will be a young family with a child, a baby. Frogmore Cottage has been fitted out with, I imagine, a remarkable nursery. Usually, now it's wrong. It's wrong to assume that Eugenie and Jack are kind of freeloading of Harry and Meghan, that they are homeless, that they have no money. That is a complete and utter fabrication. For those in the know, and this is where I come in so that I can inform you, Eugenie and Jack have been paying for a number of years now full market rent. They have not been getting handouts off the Queen. They have been paying full market rent for Ivy Cottage. Ivy Cottage is on the same kind of strip as Nottingham Cottage, where Harry and Meghan and William and Catherine lived. It's, I believe, slightly larger than Nottingham Cottage, so it's not a small place. Basically, Ivy Cottage, you could bring up a baby in there. You could bring up one child in there. So they weren't homeless. They weren't pushed out. It's not that they haven't got money. They've been paying rent on Ivy Cottage. But Frogmore Cottage is far better. It is larger. It has more rooms. It's recently renovated, so it has everything up to date. It does offer more space, more gardens. It is a better property. So I think it was really lovely of Harry and Meghan to think of Eugenie and Jack in the fact that they are actually going to make the use out of this home that is effectively standing empty. I mean, who wants Frogmore Cottage to literally just stand empty, collecting dust and all the rest of it? So it's far better that it's going to a young couple who can enjoy and appreciate the benefits of living at Frogmore Cottage. So I think it was really lovely of Harry and Meghan to do that. Of course, Eugenie has a really strong bond and relationship with Harry. They have been close since they were young, and that, Harry and Eugenie have made no secret of that. So it's really good as well to know that Harry and Eugenie still have that bond. So regardless of what people might think the relationship is with Harry and the rest of the royal family, one thing we can tell from this is that the relationship with Eugenie is still really, really strong. Strong enough that Harry and Meghan have basically offered, up their home for Eugenie and Jack's use, regardless of if there is an exchange of funds, and close enough so that Harry and Meghan feel like they can actually share a space, they can actually share a home with Eugenie and Jack when they do decide to come back. I think also the fact that Meghan's court case has been pushed back. Of course, Meghan requested that the court case be pushed back for private reasons. We don't know what these private reasons are. Could it be that she's pregnant? People have been speculating. Bottom line is, we don't know, but whatever, it's been pushed back for a period of time. So Harry and Meghan were expected to return to Frogmore in January. We now know that's not going to happen. Harry and Meghan probably won't return for the bulk of next year. I would imagine the first time that Harry and possibly Meghan returns might be for the unveiling of the Diana statue at Kensington Palace, which of course William and Harry have both been working on together. That is very, very much a joint private project. But no, all these people saying, Eugenie and Jack are homeless and all the rest of it, that is just a complete and utter lie. People are obviously trying to gaslight their audiences. It's just, why can't people just accept that Harry and Meghan have just done a really lovely thing for Eugenie and Jack, who, are grateful at having the chance of living in, a much larger, better equipped, more spacious property that's actually closer to Royal Lodge, where Andrew and Sarah have lived together. It's Royal Lodge has been the York family home for a great amount of time. Right, let's kind of go up now that more people have dropped in. And let's obviously see some of the questions, and I will try and read as many as I possibly can. So, Mary says, I'm very happy it's being used by Princess Eugenie and Jack. Me too. I couldn't be happier. And I don't understand people that aren't happy. Aren't happy for Harry and Meghan that the house is actually being, used and utilised and lived in, and possibly getting some rent back. But also happy for Eugenie and Jack. Why can't we be happy for a young family? Lauren says, me too. I wonder if this means we will see more of Princess Eugenie and Jack as working royals. That was my other option I wanted to explore. So, if Harry and Meghan have paid, for a certain amount of rent for a certain amount of time, what happens when that time is up? Do Harry and Meghan, will Harry and Meghan want to continue renting, or will they want to perhaps properly hand the keys over to Eugenie and Jack, who might take on the rent by themselves officially? We don't know. The bottom line is we don't know, and people's thoughts, people's lives change. So, what people have said and agreed on now might not be how they think, how they feel, how they want to go ahead in a year's time, 12 months down the line. It might be completely different. So we can't kind of hold people to what they say now, because things change. Harry and Meghan might never want to come back. They might never want to return to Frogmore. They could choose to stay in hotels. They could choose to stay in other royal residences. For example, if they come back for Christmas, well, they'd typically be staying at Sandringham, so they wouldn't need Frogmore. If they were coming back for a Balmoral summer break with the Queen, or Charles in the future, they could stay at Balmoral. So do they actually properly need a UK base? I know it's always been the intention that they've wanted a UK base, but do they actually thoroughly need one? That is something that Harry and Meghan are probably going to be looking at with great scrutiny. Do they need, I mean, they can afford it, but do they need the ongoing expense and costs of basically renting it? The only way where they would lose out money-wise if they actually effectively handed it over to Eugenie and Jack would be on the renovation costs, because they've paid this large amount of money, millions of pounds, for the refurbishment costs, which again was voluntary. They weren't required to do so. They wanted to do that, and they did. It was a voluntary payment. So they would lose out if they literally just handed it back. That would be wasted money. So I think Harry and Meghan have got a lot of deep thinking to do about how they want to live. I think this is a really good arrangement for the here and now. Frogmore Cottage is being used, it's being utilised, it's going to good use, but also it kind of pushes the issue of what to do with Frogmore a little bit further down the line, so that they can properly assess, how life is going, how they want to proceed in the future. Also, I don't necessarily think, because Eugenie and Jack would have furnished Ivy Cottage to their own taste, so they will have their own furniture, they will have their own belongings. I don't think we are seeing necessarily the full picture, the full descriptions of what's been going on behind the scenes between Harry and Meghan and Eugenie and Jack. I think Eugenie and Jack wouldn't up sticks and move from Ivy Cottage, which, by the way, space is tight at Kensington Palace. Once Ivy Cottage has been vacated, that could go to another staff member as a grace and favour home. That could go to another royal. Maybe Princess Beatrice could take that on, although Princess Beatrice is paying market rent at St James's Palace, but maybe she could move in that one. Ivy Cottage will go to someone else. So now that they've moved out, I don't think they would make that move if they didn't think it was going to be for a longer period of time. So whatever happens, whether Harry and Meghan wish to continue with the rent and kind of, in effect, sublet it to Eugenie and Jack, or whether Eugenie and Jack take that on fully by themselves, I think that is going to remain Eugenie and Jack's primary residence. Also, of course, if Princess Eugenie does become a full-time working royal, of course, because of the vacuum left by Harry and Meghan leaving, because of Prince Andrew no longer being, in effect, a working royal. If she does become a working royal, it's likely that the rent would be covered by as part of being a grace and favour home. So this could be a very strategic move on the royals' part. Hello to everyone who is just dropping in. I'm not sure if I've read Lauren's comment, who says it's nice that the house is now being used. I completely agree. I think I did read that one, actually. Cinderella. I thought I read that correctly. It says the tabloids will spin it to the negative. Just wait. So far, I don't really think they have. The only thing I think they've done is they've said that they've reported incorrectly at the beginning that Harry and Meghan had handed it over. They reported incorrectly that they'd done this kind of midnight flit, when in reality, all the lights being on and vans coming and going was probably Eugenie and Jack moving in, or it was the staff preparing the cottage for Eugenie and Jack's arrival. So I think they got details wrong, but I haven't necessarily seen negative spin. The only thing they have been saying, of course, they've been questioning Meghan and Harry's intentions of, are they ever going to come back? Are they ever in the future going to retain a UK base long term? And of course, in a way, those are quite reasonable questions, because are they? What do they plan to do? Do they plan to hand it over to Eugenie and Jack eventually when that rental period is up? Do they intend to buy somewhere in the UK themselves? Do they intend to just stay in hotels or stay with, relatives when they're in the UK? Do they intend to visit the UK much at all? These are quite legitimate questions. So at the moment, I haven't really seen any negative spin. I've seen incorrect information, and I've seen questions, quite legitimate questions, but I haven't seen any negative spin yet. I will put it at yet. Mary says, I would love to see Eugenie and Beatrice become working royals. I would too. Our law says, will Eugenie and Jack pay rent in lieu? We don't know. That is part of the private agreement. And of course, wherever you're from, there is such a thing as subletting. Lots of landlords don't like people to sublet. So we don't know if there's monetary exchanges going on, but I would imagine it would have been fairly easy to clear up with the Crown Estates. You just basically go and ask permission if you can do it, and I wouldn't imagine they would refuse that, to be quite honest. So it's basically, that's a private arrangement, and we do not know all of the details about that. Lauren says, who do you think will have Ivy Cottage? Again, we don't know. It has previously been occupied by staff as well. Also, a more incorrect information being put out there about Frogmore Cottage. Frogmore Cottage, in its most recent, usage before Harry and Meghan, it was divided into 5 separate staff cottages. So it was staff accommodation. And people are saying that, Harry and Meghan were kind of thrown in the staff quarters, blah, blah, blah. That, again, is completely kind of incorrect. It was used previously for staff accommodation most recently, but it was actually built for a queen. It was a queen's retreat. Queen Charlotte, in fact. And, Queen Charlotte absolutely loved and adored Frogmore Cottage. It was her little piece of heaven. So that's how it was originally built, as one property. It was restored to one property for Harry and Meghan. So basically, Harry and Meghan got the Queen Charlotte effect rather than the staff effect. But it did need renovating. It was on a list to be renovated. But, properties on the renovation list can take years and years and years and years and years to get renovated. They can languish on the list for 10, 15, 20 years. And there was no guarantee that it was earmarked to be returned to one single-use property. It could necessarily have been refurbished to a higher standard, but retained as 5 separate staff accommodations. So there was, no outline plans as to what it was actually going to be used for. In the end, it turned out that it was returned to one property, kitted out, of course, to Harry and Meghan's specifications and to kind of suit their lifestyle, which hopefully will also suit Eugenie and Jack. Mary says, I love the two princesses as well. They have lovely personalities. They do indeed. And Christine says, I think they wanted to be closer to Sarah and Andrew. Andrew says, is Harry close to any of the other cousins like Zara, Tyndall? Well, they are closer in age. Zara and Peter are closer in age to William and Harry. Although there's not too much difference between Beatrice and Eugenie and William and Harry. But I think the relationship that we know that is closest is between Harry and Eugenie. But yeah, I think, you know, we've heard talk of royal WhatsApp groups in the past. Of course, we don't know if they're still going. But no, I think the cousins are probably still in contact. But I think Eugenie and Harry are the ones that have that very special bond between them. Lauren says, personally, I don't think Harry and Meghan will come back. I think I've just lost your comment. Wait a minute, I'm going back up again. You don't think they'll come back apart from the court case, but only your opinion. Again, we don't know. None of us has a crystal ball, let's put it that way. Hello to everyone just dropping in. I think we have 73 people watching at the moment, or thereabouts. Right, I'm going to kind of head back. Our law says California received the benefit of having Meghan and Harry being here. They are treated as superstars instead of the awful way the British press bashes them. Well, of course, that is the difference, I suppose, between being a celebrity in a different place and being royal. Royals and celebrities are very, very different. They are treated very, very different. Not that it's okay to treat someone badly, but the way that the royal family is looked at and treated in the UK is different to that of a celebrity. I've always said that right from the beginning. Royals are not celebrities. But now, of course, Harry and Meghan are more in that celebrity world. So that stands to reason. Khaleesi, I hope I said that correct, says, is this rumour true? Oh no, rumours. That Meghan is in fear of returning to London and never will come back. Well, I don't think it's true that she's in fear of returning to London. I'm not quite sure what she's got to be fearful of. But in terms of will she ever come back, we don't know. Again, no one's got a crystal ball. We really don't know what Meghan's intentions are. I would love to be able to sit down and ask her. Not that she'd probably say anything, but you know, unless you've actually got the chance to sit down with her and ask her these questions and have a good old conversation, we don't know. So that, I'm afraid, that is something we're going to have to say we don't know. But time will tell whether she comes back or not. Tammy says, I am happy to see that the cousins still have a good relationship. Me too. It is a door for the rest of the family to someday reach out to each other through. I think now, and I spoke about this on my other channel as well, I think Harry in particular, there was a statement that he put out by it was via like a secondary person, but Omid Scobie tweeted it. And this, of course, was in response to the tabloid article that Harry was failing to support William. And, of course, William spoke out about the Diana Panorama documentary incident with Martin Bashir that's now being investigated by the BBC. William expressed his support of it. The press were kind of, I think, being rather mean, actually, to Harry, kind of saying that because Harry hadn't said anything about it, that he didn't care and that he wasn't supporting William. So basically, Omid Scobie tweeted this, and this came from a Sussex source. So again, we don't know where Omid gets his Sussex sources from, but you know, we think it is very, very close to Harry and Meghan. So it says, Harry is getting regular updates and is aware of everything that is happening. You do not need a public statement to imagine how he is feeling privately. People know how much his mother means to him. He has bravely spoken out in the past about loss and grief, and the immense impact it has had on him. Sadly, some people are not just seeing this as a drive for truth, but also trying to use this as an opportunity to drive a wedge between the brothers. So this shows to me quite clearly that Harry is concerned about outside influence driving, even more of a wedge between himself and William. But it also shows that if he's, mentioning this, that he's concerned about it, that he actually has a feeling about it, that he doesn't want there to be any more of a wedge between them than what there already is. He's removed himself from Britain, he's removed himself from the royal family, he's living somewhere else, he's got his own life now all set up. Basically, I think Harry wants to move on. He doesn't want there to be outside people, and I think this is not just aimed at the media, I think this is also people online as well. Because there is so much noise with comments and fan supporters on both sides of the divide. There are those that support William and Catherine and the royal family that are really nasty. There are those that support Harry and Meghan that can be equally as nasty. But all of these comments from both sides add to that noise. Coupled with the media as well, it puts an immense pressure on Harry, on Meghan, on William, on Catherine, on the royal family, and it does put this kind of barrier between them, and it shows to me how Harry making these or putting these kind of comments out there, letting these feelings be known by spokespeople, that he doesn't want that he actually wants, now that he's removed himself, he wants to concentrate on his life going forward, on the future, and that includes having some distance and space between him and the royal family so that they can heal. I think we are now in a period where it's all about healing. Regardless of the rights or the wrongs of the past, it's done, it's gone. Harry's got a new life now. People need to move on. The press need to move on. Fans of both sides need to move on. The hurtful, hateful, disgusting comments that I've seen online from both sides. I've seen them from both sides. This is not just, I'm not aiming this at anyone in particular. There have been some disgusting comments. People picking on, royal family members' looks and, fake pregnancies and all. I've heard it all. I've heard the lot. It's not helpful. It doesn't help Harry and William to heal, and I think that's what Harry wants, is a chance, an opportunity to heal. It might take years and years and years and years to properly heal, but all this noise, people interfering, people probably thinking that they're doing a good thing. Maybe people think that by, pushing back and doing all this kind of thing, that they are helping Harry and Meghan, but really this just goes to show me that Harry wants to reconnect with his family. However long it takes, and people interfering with it, making all this noise, creating all these conversations is not helpful. He wants to move on. I think that is really, really clear. And, if you continue, whichever side of the divide you fall on, and there is a divide, whichever side you fall on, you need to stop making hurtful, horrible comments. 2020 has been a horrible year. Do we really want to make it even more horrible and nasty by putting out negativity? Let's make 2021 a year of healing, a year of putting things behind, moving on, and concentrating on what's important. And that is happiness, people being happy, happy in their new lives. And that's, I think, is what we should be concentrating on a lot more than all the negative stuff that's going on. It's a time to heal. Right, I'm going to go down to the bottom of the comments, just so that I'm keeping up with what people are saying about what I've just been speaking about, basically. Christine says, in order for people to heal, the British tabloids need to let it go on the Sussexes' move and focus on the rest of the royal family. The Sussexes are thriving on the global stage right now. Nobody is saying that I'm aware that Harry and Meghan are not doing well. They've signed, multi-million pound, multi-year deal with Netflix. Of course, they're still to produce and put something out, but they are doing well. They've got enough money to pay back Frogmore Cottage, to buy a new home in the States. I don't think anyone is doubting Harry and Meghan's success in what they're doing. Of course, I said this and I'll say it again, only Harry and Meghan are the ones who can judge if they are happy. Lots of people, might be trying to kind of judge Harry and Meghan's happiness levels on how much money they're making, how big their house is, but really it comes down to personal feelings. The things that make people happy the most vary and differ from person to person. For some people it is the big house, the cars, how many holidays you take, how much money you're making. But for others, it can be more simple, simplistic things. Everyone's different. We can't judge. I don't think we have the right to judge Harry and Meghan's happiness levels or Harry and Meghan's success. Only they can judge if they are happy with their life. So it kind of muddies the waters by people, saying all this about them. Only they really, truly, deep down in their hearts and souls know if what they have chosen to do, the life they are now leading, makes them happy, makes them feel successful. Maybe one day we'll find out from them. Lauren says, and for people to heal... I think I've read that one. That's one I've just read. Dreamcast says, didn't Harry and Meghan, Eugenie and Jack double date in Canada? I think they did. I did hear a story. I don't think I've had anything confirmed, but I did hear that they had. Yes. Lauren says, personally, I think Omid speaks to them directly. Well, again, we don't know that. I can't say that that's true or not true, but we do know that Meghan did, all these court documents kind of revealed that Meghan did actually authorise one of her friends, we don't know which one, to talk to Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand to contribute, to correct a piece of misinformation that went in Finding Freedom. So we know that basically Meghan must have said, look, there's this misinformation out here. It's okay for you to communicate this to Carolyn and Omid to put in the book. So it kind of shows that Meghan and Harry were aware of this book being written, and they were aware that at least one friend was speaking to the authors of the book, and at least for one piece of information that got Meghan's blessing in terms of being communicated. The question it raises, and it's quite a legitimate question, is if Meghan was able to kind of authorise a friend to communicate one piece of information, what else was there? Meghan and Harry have categorically said that they have not spoken to Omid and Carolyn directly. They have not sat down and given an interview. But they haven't, said that there weren't other things that they've communicated. If they felt that the reason, to authorise a friend to communicate something to Omid and Carolyn was because there was a lot of misinformation, well, there was a lot of misinformation about a lot of other things as well. So, what other details did Meghan or Harry authorise? There was a lot of personal details that the authors really kind of wouldn't know unless they were literally a fly on the wall. And, I don't think Omid and Carolyn quite have the powers to turn themselves into a fly following Harry and Meghan around all those years ago. So, where did they get those bits of information from? Well, it must have been from one of Harry and Meghan's friends. Whether or not it was authorised by Harry and Meghan to communicate, we do not know, but we do know that at least one piece of information was kind of permitted by Meghan. Mary says, thank you for such a fine question and answer. You are more than welcome. Also, you are correct. Oh, well, I like being correct. In that only Harry and Meghan can assess their own happiness. Yeah, it's not for anyone else to assess anyone else's happiness because it's a very individual, personal thing. What somebody values highly might not be what other people value highly. So, we can't say how well they're doing because it's down to them. Lauren says, I'm not saying the British press don't write things. I'm just saying the US press don't. It's just wrong. Oh, are you trying to talk about the difference between the US press and the UK press? Oh, I'm sure there are loads and loads and loads of differences. Having never lived personally under the US media, I'm not the best person to ask in terms of comparing them, but I can tell you about the UK press. That's one thing I can talk about. And, the UK press has always, it's always been there. People have always kind of bought newspapers, and newspapers often have political leanings as well. You've got, of the tabloids, you've got ones that support more liberal parties, you've got ones that can support more the conservative parties. Usually tabloids, are read by, working class people. And of course, there has been a lot more online media consumption these days. So a lot of tabloids are now, have moved fully kind of online as well. But I can also talk about how people perceive, what they're kind of what they read in newspapers. A lot of people think that what's in the papers that they can't necessarily trust. I mean, people say, oh, is this just paper talk? Is that just paper talk? And, a lot of it is just paper talk. And it's false to think that the UK people just swallow everything up and believe everything that's written. People really, really don't. People do ask questions about, is this true? Is this not true? People do question things. It's not a case of if it's written, therefore it becomes the gospel. True, it does it does muddy the water, but people do not believe everything they see in these papers. For years and years, on page 3 of lots of the red top tabloids, there was naked, topless women, not naked downstairs, but naked on top women. I mean, that's what UK newspapers. You open up page 3 and you get boobs. I mean, people don't take it seriously. You can't take boobs on page 3 at the breakfast table seriously. So do not mistake the fact that people believe everything that they read in the tabloids. Tammy says, here in the US, the press will build you up and then take you apart with lies. There is an element of that as well. I've said that before in the past. The British press do, often build people up and then, find a chink in the armour and then kind of go for you. But the British press do like a fighter. They do actually respect people that actually stand up and kind of, get on with it. Take, for example, Sarah Ferguson. She has had many, 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 building ups and then completely knocking downs. Mostly because she's done things to be worthy of being knocked down, of course. But the British people and the British press kind of like the fact that Fergie has that very much kind of gung-ho attitude. She'll admit when she's wrong, she'll admit to all of her faults and all of her failings, and then she'll just get back on with it. She'll kind of have that British stiff upper lip, and she'll kind of ride out the embarrassment and just get back on that horse and go for it. And the British people do tend to respect a trier. We do like someone who just gets back up and kind of gets on with it, so to speak. Christine says, you would never have a round table with serious reporters discussing tabloid stories on national TV. It would never happen in America. We have tabloids, but they stay in the supermarkets. I think tabloids are different. One thing I do know, I think, is people have told me, not that I've read them myself, but I think US tabloids are slightly different to the UK ones in terms of like the complete and utter lies. I think in the UK, tabloid stories are often based on a sliver of truth, but then it's obviously embellished quite a lot. I've heard that American tabloids can just completely and utterly make things up completely. Thank you, Angelica, who says I'm looking great. Thank you. Our law says it was Piers Morgan who bashed Harry during the Remembrance Week. In the USA, we saw it as very patriotic. See, it didn't come across. It didn't come across that way in the UK. It came across like he was using something that was very kind of, you know, sacrosanct and sacred and personal to publicise himself. That's how it came across. And again, that's probably a difference of cultures. But in the UK, what Harry did, you know, I'm afraid to be the bearer of bad news, but it did come across not very well. It came across as quite narcissistic, having a photo shoot in a graveyard. It didn't transcend. Let's put it that way. I mean, whosever idea it was, you know, it might have worked in America. It didn't work back home here in the UK. It really just didn't wash at all. No, it didn't work. Let's put it that way. W. Farris says, I think Omid should move here to the US. He can still be a royal watcher from here while expanding his brand. I mean, you know, he's kind of losing credibility within the reporting genre, I suppose, because, you know, he's not been tweeting about certain things and then tweeting about selective things and reporting on selective things. So credibility, I think, when you are so aligned with kind of one person's point of view, you kind of lose a little bit of journalistic credibility. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment. Oh no! Apparently Lupo, William and Catherine's dog, has passed away. Oh no! Where was that released? I'm gonna have to have a little peek. Where did you see that? I need to go and have a little. Where would that be? Let's just. I'm gonna just see if there's anything. I can't see anything yet, but if that is true, that is really, really sad. Bless. Christine says the good news about the Sussex's departure is that we cannot hear the British noise anymore. I'm afraid the noise is coming from all over the place. It really is. It's not just coming from the mainstream media. It's coming from grassroots social media, people as well. Everybody has a responsibility. It's incorrect to say at this stage that it is just the traditional press that is making and causing all the noise and all the aggro. No, it's coming from all over. The reality is it's coming from the media. It's also coming from people on the ground, people like you and me and everyone else talking and making conversations and tweeting and making messages and all the rest of it. And that is the truth. Natalie Jean says, you said Omid is losing credibility with the Rota. No, I think he's losing credibility as a journalist, because when you become so associated with one person or one kind of party's, you know, basically he's seen as being a spokesperson for Harry and Meghan. And you do lose journalistic credibility when you become so ingrained with one party, so to speak. That's the truth of it. Elizabeth says, Lupo has passed. My dear Bet is headed there. Oh no. I don't know where that's been publicised, because it's probably something that's literally just come on really, really quickly. So I'm going to just do a quick look at some. I can't see it. Where have you seen that Lupo's passed away? Let me know and I will go and check it out. Oh, apparently Instagram Kensington Palace. Let's have a little look. I will go over there right now and take a look. Oh no, I can see it now. Oh no, they've posted, very sadly, last weekend, our dear dog Lupo passed away. He has been at the heart of our family for the past 9 years, and we will miss him so much, William and Catherine. Oh, that's so sad. That really is sad. Oh no, that's awful. I really do feel sorry for them. I don't think anybody can be happy with someone losing a pet. Definitely not. Christine says, what I meant about the noise is the Sussexes can enjoy their morning breakfast without being insulted on television daily like it used to be in the UK. They have PCO, trust me, we don't hear it. It depends if you go looking for it. Depends if you go looking for it. And, you know, we don't know at what level Harry and Meghan do go looking for this kind of thing. We've had indications that they do because they're aware of what's going on. So whether they're being told it by staff or by friends, or whether they're going looking for it directly, I actually would say that they are aware of what's going on all over the world. Yeah, it's really, really sad that Lupo's passed away. I think it's awful. Right, I think I'm going to leave it here for today, unless you've got any other really, really pressing Harry and Meghan topics you want me to discuss. Our law says it must be a cultural difference because we did not see a problem with the picture of Harry at the cemetery during Remembrance Week. It was also Veterans Day. I've said in other chats as well, Harry had every right to lay a wreath, to pay his respects. You know, he served in the armed forces. It really does mean something personal to Harry. When he was a working royal, he got to do that as part of an organised ceremony. That, for the royals, not only is something personal and very moving, but it's also a duty. It's also something that's part of their role in kind of getting England and getting the wider United Kingdom to remember kind of what's gone before. So not only does it have a personal aspect, but it also has an official capacity as well. When Harry stepped back, he couldn't operate that event in an official capacity. So that's why his wreath was refused to be laid as part of the ceremony like he would have liked to have done. It wasn't the fact that the family were refusing him personally, it was complete protocol. You can only have a wreath placed in as part of the ceremony if you are, acting in an official capacity. Normal people, regular people, can go and place a wreath on the cenotaph or if they want to, but after the event, not part of the ceremony. So that's when people often kind of march by. In normal years, people would march by and they could lay things at the cenotaph. Also, what people might not realise in America is the cenotaph is not in a park. It's not in a memorial site. It's in the middle of a busy street in London. They close the street off for the ceremony. Normally, either side of the cenotaph is a busy, busy London Central road. So there's only so much space on the actual memorial itself. So private people normally kind of attend on the day the march passed, and normally there's a big march that goes past. So had Harry been in the UK this year, he could have joined the march, and he could have, as he passed, maybe if there was space, he could have put something on himself. So that was why it was just a matter of protocol as to why his wreath couldn't have been laid. Going back to America, going through the war grave in LA, that was done in a private capacity, not an official capacity. So it seemed a little bit odd back here in Britain to see him hire a photographer to capture the moment. It came across as very conceited. It came across as publicising something that for him should have been a personal matter. He could have marked the occasion simply by releasing a statement saying that he's thinking of everybody back at home on this day and that he will be marking it privately in a private capacity. That would have been enough. We saw the whole thing of, getting dressed up, having a photo shoot on a war grave. It just didn't come across authentic. It didn't come across well at all. Maybe that's the way things are done in America, but in the UK, people do not take pictures of themselves. Having a proper professional kind of photo shoot, pictures done in a graveyard on Remembrance Sunday, people just don't do it. It didn't come across very well. It didn't transcend, and it didn't work. That was a fail. Christine says the Sussexes are going to do their own thing from now on, and the Brits are going to have to get used to it. To us, the Brit press sounds very bitter and can't seem to get over the breakup. The British press will be the British press. All I can do is kind of, talk about what's going on. But no, I see absolutely. There was nothing wrong with Harry placing a wreath in the way that he did. It was just the publicising of it, the kind of desire that everybody should know that he's done it. That was the bit that kind of didn't really sit very well. Tammy says people don't do it in the US either. Well, I mean, okay, I will go with what you're saying, but no, I can speak for the UK. It just didn't work. It didn't look or fit or feel genuine. It just seemed like, like he wanted to really be seen doing it, and that's not something that you should publicize yourself doing, is paying a personal respect, unless of course you're acting in an official capacity like Harry would normally have done. He would have normally acted in an official capacity. Am I going to do more Crown reviews? Yes, I've still to watch episode 5. So if you go over to Royal Reviewer, probably tomorrow I will be doing a episode 5 review. I've still got to watch it. Right, I'm going to go now. Hopefully I've been useful. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.